The choices you make when no one's watching define who you are, when everyone's attention is on you. Respect isn't given freely in this world. It's earned through consistent action, aligned with principle. And here's the surprising truth: most people never grasp being respected has very little to do with being liked. What's the difference between the person everyone respects and the person desperately seeking approval? I'll tell you, mine understands that respect comes from within before it ever comes from without. Have you ever noticed how certain individuals command attention when they enter a room? They don't speak loudly. They don't demand recognition. Yet somehow, their presence carries weight. What creates that invisible force? That's what we're examining today. The foundation of earning respect begins with self-respect. You cannot expect others to value what you yourself do not value. This fundamental principle governs every interaction you'll ever have. Consider the last time you encountered someone who truly impressed you. Was it their attempts to be agreeable, their efforts to win your favor, or was it something more substantial? Their competence, their integrity, their unwavering commitment to their values. Most people spend their lives trying to be liked. They adjust their opinions to match the crowd. They avoid difficult conversations. They compromise their standards to avoid rejection. And in doing so, they sacrifice the very thing they truly desire: genuine respect. The path to being respected without being liked requires making peace with discomfort. You must be willing to stand when others sit, to speak when others remain silent, to hold your ground when the winds of public opinion blow against you. I remember meeting a gentleman years ago who built a manufacturing business from nothing. He wasn't particularly charming. He wasn't the type to win personality contests. But every employee in his organization would walk through walls for him. Why? Because they knew exactly where he stood. His word was iron. His principles were non-negotiable. He never promised what he couldn't deliver. And he never failed to deliver what he promised. That's the first cornerstone of respect: absolute integrity. When your words and actions align consistently over time, people learn they can depend on you. And what people can depend on, they come to respect. Ask yourself, can people predict your response to challenging situations based on your stated values? Or do you shift like sand depending on what's convenient in the moment? The second cornerstone is personal responsibility. Those who command respect refuse to blame circumstances for their condition. They understand a fundamental truth: while we cannot control everything that happens to us, we maintain complete control over our response. Most people live in reaction to their environment. Something happens, they respond emotionally. Then they justify their behavior. The respected individual reverses this pattern. They decide their principles in advance, measure situations against those principles, then respond deliberately regardless of emotional pull. This approach requires tremendous discipline. It means accepting full responsibility for your life, your successes and your failures. No excuses, no justifications, just honest assessment and deliberate action. Let me ask you directly, when was the last time you failed at something important and took complete ownership without making a single excuse? That moment, that exact moment of radical accountability, is where respect begins to grow. The marketplace pays for value, and it pays exactly what you're worth. Not a penny more, not a penny less. The same principle applies to respect. You receive precisely the amount you've earned through your actions. Consider how you approach your work. Do you do just enough to get by? Do you watch the clock, counting minutes until freedom? Or do you pursue excellence regardless of recognition? Excellence is the third cornerstone of commanding respect. When you commit to mastery in your chosen field, when you consistently deliver more than expected, people cannot help but take notice. Excellence speaks for itself. It requires no advertisement, no self-promotion. It stands as its own testimony. I've observed countless individuals who became respected not because of natural talent, but because they refused to accept mediocrity from themselves. They understood that the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. By raising their personal standards, they elevated their worth in the eyes of others. Many seek shortcuts to respect. They believe the right clothes, the right connections, or the right circumstances will grant them the standing they desire. But respect cannot be purchased or borrowed. It must be earned day by day, decision by decision. The truly respected individual understands that character is built in moments of decision. Each time you choose principle over convenience, purpose over pleasure, responsibility over blame, you add another brick to your foundation of respect. Consider the people you respect most in your life. I guarantee they share certain qualities. They're reliable. They're competent. They're principled. They don't shift with the prevailing winds of opinion. They stand for something beyond themselves. These qualities don't develop overnight. They're cultivated through thousands of small choices made consistently over time. That's why respect cannot be faked. People can pretend to be something they're not for a day, a week, perhaps even a month. But true character reveals itself through the test of time. The fourth cornerstone of respect is boundary setting. Respected individuals know what they will and will not accept, from themselves and from others. They establish clear boundaries and enforce them consistently. Most people fear setting boundaries because they fear rejection. They allow others to encroach upon their time, their values, and their priorities, because saying no feels confrontational. Yet those who command respect understand that proper boundaries protect their ability to deliver on their commitments. Your willingness to say no directly correlates with the value of your yes. When you agree to everything, your agreement means nothing. When you carefully guard your commitments, each one carries weight. I once watched a new executive join a struggling company. In her first week, she was invited to 17 different meetings. She declined 14 of them. Her message was clear. Her time would be invested only where she could create meaningful value. Within a month, people stopped sending casual invitations. Within 3 months, an invitation from her was considered a priority. She commanded respect by valuing her time and insisting others do the same. This reflects another crucial understanding. Respect grows from scarcity, not abundance. What's freely available is rarely valued. What's earned through effort and discipline carries weight. Consider how this applies to your opinions. Do you offer them freely, jumping into every conversation with your perspective? Or do you speak sparingly, ensuring that when you do contribute, your words carry substance? Those who command respect understand the power of restraint. They recognize that silence often communicates more powerfully than words. They speak when they have something to say, not simply when they feel the urge to be heard. The fifth cornerstone of respect is consistency. Human beings crave predictability. We respect what we can depend on. When your behavior aligns with your stated principles day after day, year after year, people learn they can orient themselves around your character. Consistency isn't flashy. It doesn't draw immediate attention. But over time, it builds a reputation that precedes you into every room, every relationship, every opportunity. I've observed that most people operate based on temporary motivation rather than unwavering discipline. They perform well when they feel inspired, but their efforts wane when emotions fade. The respected individual ignores the fluctuations of feeling and commits to consistent action regardless of mood. This reliability becomes particularly evident during times of crisis. When challenges arise, most scatter in search of comfort. The respected few move toward difficulty, guided by principle rather than fear. Their response to adversity reveals the depth of their character. Ask yourself, how do you behave when no one is watching? When there's no immediate reward? When doing the right thing costs you something valuable? Your answers reveal the true state of your character. The sixth cornerstone of respect is continuous improvement. Those who command respect never rest on past achievements. They maintain a student's mindset, constantly seeking growth and development. This humble approach to knowledge creates an interesting paradox. The more expertise you gain, the more you recognize how much you have yet to learn. This intellectual humility, combined with genuine competence, forms a powerful foundation for respect. I've watched countless experts lose respect by defending outdated positions rather than embracing new understanding. Their identity became so attached to being right that they couldn't adapt when new information emerged. True respect comes not from perfect knowledge, but from perfect willingness to evolve your understanding. This commitment to growth extends beyond professional skills. The respected individual develops continuously in every dimension, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. They recognize that excellence in one area cannot compensate for deficiency in another. Consider how you allocate your time and energy. Are you developing comprehensively, or do you focus exclusively on areas where you already excel, neglecting fundamental aspects of your character? The seventh cornerstone of respect is purpose beyond self-interest. People naturally respect those who stand for something larger than personal gain. When your actions serve a meaningful purpose, when you contribute value beyond what you extract, you establish yourself as someone worthy of respect. Most operate from transactional thinking, what can I get? The respected individual reverses this approach, what can I give? This subtle shift fundamentally alters how others perceive your motives and actions. I've observed that the most respected individuals in any field operate from abundance rather than scarcity. They freely share knowledge, opportunities, and resources because they recognize that true value multiplies when distributed. This generosity isn't born from naivety. It stems from confidence in their own worth and a commitment to creating value regardless of immediate return. They understand that respect flows naturally toward those who enrich the lives of others. The architecture of respect begins with a fundamental understanding value precedes recognition. Most people have this backward. They seek recognition first, hoping that acknowledgement will somehow create value. It never works. The marketplace is brutally efficient at identifying genuine worth versus empty self-promotion. Now that we've established the cornerstones of respect, integrity, personal responsibility, excellence, boundaries, consistency, continuous improvement, purpose beyond self-interest, emotional self-regulation, keeping your word and courage, let's examine how these principles are structured into a coherent system that generates respect in your professional and personal interactions. Think about the most respected person in your field. What makes them stand apart? Is it their technical skill alone? Rarely. Technical skill is necessary but insufficient. What truly distinguishes them is their approach to delivering value. The first architectural element of respect is the value-first mindset. This perspective fundamentally alters how you engage with every situation. Instead of asking, "What can I get from this?" you ask, "What can I contribute here?" This subtle shift transforms you from consumer to creator, from taker to giver, from commodity to asset. Most people approach opportunities with a benefits-focused mentality. They evaluate situations based on immediate return. The respected individual reverses this equation, focusing first on contribution and trusting that returns will follow in appropriate measure. I once worked with a consultant who charged extraordinary fees for his services. His competitors constantly complained about his pricing, insisting it was unjustified. Yet he maintained a waiting list of clients eager to work with him. Why? Because his first question in every engagement was, how can I create 10 times the value of what I'm charging? He didn't just deliver services, he obsessively created results that dwarfed his compensation. This value-oriented approach becomes particularly powerful when confronting challenges. The average person sees problems as obstacles to avoid. The respected individual sees them as opportunities to demonstrate value. When others retreat from difficulty, they advance, knowing that solving significant problems creates significant respect. Consider how you respond when unexpected challenges arise. Do you complain about unfairness? Do you seek ways to minimize your involvement? Or do you lean in looking for ways to create solutions? Your habitual response to problems reveals your fundamental orientation toward value creation. The second architectural element is communication that commands respect. Most people use language as a tool for self-expression or social connection. The respected individual recognizes that communication is far more powerful. It's the primary tool for transferring value and building understanding. Notice the communication patterns of truly respected individuals. They speak with precision, avoiding hyperbole and empty phrases. They make statements they can verify. They use language that clarifies rather than obscures. Most importantly, they understand that powerful communication begins with powerful listening. You've likely noticed that the most respected people in any room often speak the least. When they do speak, others listen because their words carry weight. This gravity comes from the careful thought preceding their speech and their track record of meaningful contribution. The average person speaks to be heard. The respected individual speaks to be understood. This distinction fundamentally alters both the content and delivery of communication. It eliminates the need for attention-seeking behaviors, replacing them with thoughtfully constructed messages delivered with appropriate force. I observed a senior executive who transformed an entire organization's communication culture through one simple practice. In meetings before speaking, she would for 3 full seconds. This small habit accomplished 2 critical things. It ensured she had considered her words carefully, and it created anticipation for what she would say. Her communication carried weight not because of her title but because of her methodology. Consider your own communication patterns. Do you speak reactively, saying whatever comes to mind? Do you use language that exaggerates for effect? Do you make commitments casually? Or do you choose your words with precision, understanding that each statement either builds or diminishes your credibility? The third architectural element is the establishment and maintenance of boundaries. Respect cannot exist without appropriate distance. The respected individual creates this distance not through coldness or superiority, but through clear standards consistently applied. Most people fear setting boundaries because they fear rejection. They allow others to violate their time, attention, and values rather than risk disapproval. The respected individual recognizes that proper boundaries don't diminish relationships. They enhance them by ensuring each interaction maintains appropriate parameters. Think about the most respected teacher you've ever had. I guarantee they maintained clear boundaries. They were accessible but not available at all times. They were honest but not harsh. They maintained standards without being rigid. Their boundaries created the structure within which true learning could occur. This boundary setting extends to every aspect of life. The respected individual knows what they will and won't accept from themselves and from others. They establish these standards not through dramatic announcements but through consistent enforcement. When boundaries are violated, they respond with appropriate measured consequences. I watched a new manager transform a dysfunctional team through careful boundary setting. His predecessor had allowed deadlines to slip, meetings to wander, and commitments to be treated casually. Instead of making grand pronouncements about new standards, he simply began enforcing consequences when boundaries were crossed. Late to a meeting? It proceeded without you. Missed a deadline? You explained the failure to the entire team. Within 3 months, behavior had completely changed. Not through fear, but through clarity of expectations. Consider your own boundaries. Are they clearly defined? Are they consistently enforced? Do people understand what you expect and what you won't accept? Proper boundaries aren't about control. They're about creating the conditions where respect can flourish. The fourth architectural element is the philosophy of under-promising and over-delivering. In a world of exaggerated claims and disappointed expectations, the individual who consistently delivers more than they promise stands apart. This approach builds credibility over time, establishing you as someone whose word carries unusual weight. Most people operate in the opposite direction. They overpromise to gain immediate approval, then underdeliver when execution proves more difficult than anticipated. This pattern destroys credibility and undermines respect. The respected individual reverses this approach, creating a pattern of pleasant surprise rather than disappointment. This doesn't mean setting absurdly low expectations. It means making commitments carefully, building in appropriate margins for the unexpected, and then applying extraordinary effort to exceed the standards you've established. I worked with a manufacturer who built their entire reputation on this principle. Their stated delivery time was always 5 days longer than competitors. On the surface, this seemed like a competitive disadvantage, but their actual delivery consistently occurred 3 days earlier than promised, while competitors routinely delivered later than their commitment. Within 2 years, they dominated their market segment despite higher prices, because their reliability earned them respect that translated directly to customer loyalty. Consider your own pattern of promises and delivery. Do you commit impulsively, then struggle to fulfill your obligations? Or do you carefully evaluate what you can deliver, promise slightly less, then consistently exceed expectations? The gap between what you say and what you do determines your credibility. The fifth architectural element is reputation management through consistent action. Your reputation isn't what you claim about yourself. It's the sum total of observations others make about your behavior over time. The respected individual understands that reputation isn't built through carefully crafted statements, but through carefully chosen actions. Most people treat reputation as a communications challenge. They believe the right words can overcome inconsistent behavior. The respected individual recognizes that actions speak with deafening volume, drowning out any contrary words. This understanding shapes decision-making in a fundamental way. When faced with difficult choices, the respected individual asks not just what should I do, but what kind of person do I want to be? They recognize that each action either aligns with or contradicts their desired reputation. I observed a business owner face a critical decision when a major production error occurred. Correcting the mistake would cost nearly a quarter's profit. Ignoring it would likely go unnoticed by customers, at least in the short term. After calculating the financial impact, he simply said, "That's not who we are," and authorized the correction. That decision, shared throughout the organization, created a standard of integrity that shaped the company's culture for years afterward. Consider how you make decisions. Are you guided primarily by immediate outcomes, or do you evaluate choices based on their alignment with the reputation you want to build? Each decision either strengthens or weakens the foundation of respect you're establishing. The sixth architectural element is the power of competence and expertise. In a world increasingly filled with opinion, genuine mastery stands apart. The respected individual commits to developing specialized knowledge and skill that creates undeniable value. Most people develop just enough competence to maintain their current position. They learn what's required, then plateau at that level of performance. The respected individual pursues mastery as an ongoing journey, continuously developing capabilities that separate them from their peers. This commitment to excellence manifests not as arrogance but as quiet confidence. They don't need to announce their expertise because their results speak for themselves. They maintain a student's mindset even as they develop a master's skill set. I worked with an attorney who embodied this principle. Despite decades of experience, he spent more time studying than any of his younger colleagues. When asked why he continued attending conferences and reading research that most of his peers ignored, he explained, "The day I stop learning is the day I stop deserving my clients' trust." This commitment to ongoing mastery earned him respect that far transcended his considerable technical skill. Consider your approach to professional development. Do you learn just enough to get by? Do you rely on past knowledge rather than seeking new understanding? Or do you pursue mastery with the intensity of someone who recognizes that competence forms the foundation of lasting respect? The seventh architectural element is the capacity to navigate difficult situations with integrity. Life inevitably presents circumstances that test your character. How you respond to these challenges, particularly when doing the right thing comes at personal cost, establishes your reputation more powerfully than any success. Most people compromise when integrity becomes inconvenient. They rationalize small departures from their standards, not recognizing that respect is built or destroyed in precisely these moments of pressure. The respected individual recognizes that maintaining integrity during difficulty isn't just a moral choice. It's a strategic investment in their long-term reputation. This doesn't mean rigid adherence to rules without understanding context. It means thoughtfully evaluating each situation against your core principles, then choosing the path that aligns with those values regardless of immediate cost or benefit. I watched a manager face this test when discovering a talented team member had falsified data on a critical report. The employee was essential to an upcoming presentation, and replacing them would jeopardize an important client relationship. After careful consideration, the manager removed the employee despite the short-term consequences. 3 years later, when this manager needed absolute trust from a new organization, that decision became the foundation of his reputation. Consider how you've handled ethical challenges in your own life. Do you bend principles when under pressure? Do you rationalize choices that contradict your stated values? Or do you maintain your standards even when doing so brings discomfort or cost? These moments define your character more clearly than any statement of values ever could. The eighth architectural element is the elimination of self-sabotaging behaviors. The respected individual recognizes that certain habits fundamentally undermine their ability to earn respect. They identify these patterns and systematically eliminate them from their behavioral repertoire. Common self-sabotaging behaviors include excuse-making, blame-shifting, exaggeration, procrastination, and conflict avoidance. Each of these patterns signals a lack of ownership, undermining the foundation of respect before it can be built. Most people recognize these behaviors in others, but remain blind to their own self-defeating patterns. The respected individual maintains heightened self-awareness, regularly examining their responses for signs of these destructive habits. I watched a promising executive nearly derail her career through one such pattern: the need to explain away every mistake with elaborate justifications. Her technical skills were extraordinary, but her reflexive excuse-making undermined trust in her judgment. Through careful feedback and deliberate practice, she developed a new response pattern. "That was my mistake. Here's what I'm learning from it. And here's my plan to fix it." This simple shift transformed her reputation within the organization. Consider your own response patterns. Do you automatically defend against criticism? Do you look for external factors to blame when things go wrong? Do you avoid difficult conversations? These habits may seem protective in the moment, but they systematically destroy the foundation of respect you're trying to build. The ninth architectural element is the daily discipline of respected individuals. While moments of crisis reveal character, daily habits build it. The respected individual recognizes that seemingly small choices, made consistently over time, create the substance of their reputation. These disciplines aren't flashy or immediately visible. They include careful preparation, thoughtful reflection, continued learning, and deliberate practice. They involve doing what needs to be done whether you feel like it or not, maintaining standards even when no one would notice their absence. Most people operate based on convenience and mood. They perform well when motivated and slack when inspiration fades. The respected individual develops systems that ensure consistent performance regardless of emotional state. They understand that discipline creates freedom by establishing patterns that generate respect automatically. I observed a sales professional who transformed his results through one simple discipline. He prepared for every client meeting as though it were the most important conversation of his career. While his peers often relied on charm and improvisation, he studied each client's situation in detail, anticipated questions, and developed tailored recommendations. Within 18 months, his closing rate tripled while his peers wondered what had changed. Consider your own daily practices. Do you prepare thoroughly or wing it? Do you reflect on experiences to extract learning or move immediately to the next activity? Do you maintain disciplines even when they're inconvenient? These daily choices may seem insignificant, but collectively they form the architecture of respect that defines your professional reputation. Your opportunity to build respect doesn't begin with grand gestures or dramatic moments. It starts with the next small choice you make, and the next. Will you choose the path of respect even when it contradicts the path of approval? Will you maintain standards when doing so brings temporary discomfort? Will you deliver value first, trusting that recognition will follow? The architecture of respect isn't built in a day. It rises slowly through thousands of consistent choices aligned with principle. But once established, it becomes an unshakable foundation for influence that transcends position, personality, or circumstance. True mastery of respect emerges when these architectural elements become not just behaviors you practice, but the natural expression of who you are. Mastery transforms respect from something you pursue into something you embody. The difference between competence and mastery is profound. Competence allows you to perform effectively. Mastery enables you to transcend the mechanics of performance and operate from a place of intuitive understanding. This distinction applies directly to the pursuit of respect. Consider how you navigate difficult situations. Do you consciously remember and apply principles of respectful behavior? Or have these principles become so integrated into your character that you naturally respond with integrity, regardless of pressure? The first element of mastery is navigating conflict with principled clarity. Every relationship eventually faces disagreement. How you handle these moments reveals the depth of your character and dramatically impacts the respect you command. Most people approach conflict emotionally, either aggressively asserting their position or passively avoiding confrontation altogether. Neither approach generates respect. The masterful individual navigates conflict with a commitment to both truth and relationship, refusing to sacrifice either for the sake of momentary comfort. This balanced approach requires emotional self-regulation, clear communication, and unwavering commitment to principle. It means directly addressing issues rather than allowing resentment to fester. It means focusing on problems rather than attacking people. Most importantly, it means maintaining your standards while remaining open to legitimate perspective. I observed a leader transform a chronically conflicted team through this approach. When tensions arose, she would ask, "What principle are we trying to uphold?" This question shifted discussions from personal disagreements to shared values. By focusing on underlying principles rather than surface positions, she created space for productive conflict that strengthened rather than damaged relationships. Consider your own approach to disagreement. Do you become defensive when challenged? Do you avoid necessary confrontation? Or do you engage directly but respectfully, seeking understanding before agreement? Your ability to navigate conflict while maintaining integrity directly impacts the respect you generate. The second element of mastery is breaking through common self-sabotaging behaviors. Earlier we identified patterns that undermine respect: excuse-making, blame-shifting, exaggeration, procrastination, and conflict avoidance. Mastery requires not just recognizing these patterns but systematically replacing them with behaviors that build rather than destroy respect. This transformation begins with heightened self-awareness. The masterful individual develops the capacity to observe their own thoughts and behaviors objectively, catching destructive patterns before they manifest as actions. This awareness creates space between stimulus and response, the space where choice becomes possible. Most people remain trapped in unconscious patterns, reacting habitually rather than responding thoughtfully. The masterful individual interrupts these patterns, consciously substituting new behaviors aligned with their commitment to respectability. For example, when something goes wrong, the automatic response might be to look for external factors to blame. The masterful individual catches this impulse before it becomes action, asking instead, "What part of this situation is my responsibility?" What can I learn from this experience? How can I improve going forward? This internal redirection transforms potential respect-destroying behavior into an opportunity for growth. I watched a manager dramatically transform his reputation through this process. Known for blaming market conditions whenever results fell short, he began consciously redirecting this pattern. Instead of automatic excuses, he started leading with accountability. We didn't achieve our targets. Here's what I'm learning. And here's how we'll adjust our approach. This simple shift fundamentally altered how others perceived his leadership. Consider your own self-sabotaging patterns. What automatic behaviors undermine the respect you seek to build? Have you developed the awareness to catch these patterns before they manifest? Have you created alternative responses that align with your commitment to respectability? Mastery requires not just identifying destructive habits but systematically replacing them with behaviors that build respect. The third element of mastery is the daily disciplines of respected individuals. While we've discussed these practices before, mastery transforms them from conscious efforts into automatic patterns. The masterful individual doesn't have to remember to prepare thoroughly, communicate clearly, or maintain standards. These behaviors have become their default operating system. This automaticity develops through consistent practice over time. The respected individual commits to these disciplines not occasionally but relentlessly, until they become not what they do but who they are. These disciplines include thorough preparation, careful listening, thoughtful reflection, continued learning, and deliberate practice. They involve doing the right thing whether you feel like it or not, maintaining standards even when no one would notice their absence. Most people practice disciplines inconsistently, performing well when motivated and slacking when inspiration fades. The masterful individual develops systems that ensure consistent performance regardless of emotional state, recognizing that true respect stems from reliability in all circumstances. I observed a professional who embodied this principle through one simple practice. She ended each day by identifying the 3 most important tasks for tomorrow, then began the next morning by completing those tasks before anything else. This discipline ensured that regardless of interruptions or unexpected challenges, the most critical work always received her best energy. The cumulative effect of this simple practice created a reputation for extraordinary reliability. Consider your own daily practices. Have they become automatic, or do they still require conscious effort? Do you maintain them consistently, or do they fluctuate with mood and circumstance? The transition from competence to mastery occurs when respect-building behaviors become your natural default rather than conscious choices. The fourth element of mastery is leadership principles that earn respect without pandering. The masterful individual understands that genuine leadership has nothing to do with popularity, everything to do with purpose. They focus not on being liked, but on creating results that serve a meaningful mission. This purpose-centered leadership operates from a fundamental understanding. Respect comes from who you are and what you accomplish, not from how you're perceived. This realization frees the leader from the exhausting effort to manage impressions, allowing them to focus entirely on creating value and developing people. Most leaders get trapped in approval-seeking behaviors, adjusting their decisions based on what will generate the most positive immediate response. The masterful leader reverses this approach, making decisions based on principle and purpose, trusting that results will ultimately validate their choices. This leadership approach includes several key practices: communicating with transparent honesty, making decisions with courage rather than consensus, holding others accountable while providing support, and demonstrating the behaviors you expect from others. The masterful leader embodies these practices not occasionally but consistently, creating a standard that inspires rather than demands following. I watched a CEO transform an organization through this approach. Rather than seeking popularity, he focused relentlessly on 2 questions: what serves our mission, and what develops our people. Decisions flowed from these principles rather than political calculation. Initially, this created resistance from those accustomed to influence through relationship rather than results. Over time, as purpose-driven decisions yielded superior outcomes, resistance transformed into extraordinary respect. Consider your own leadership approach. Do you adjust decisions based on anticipated reaction? Do you avoid difficult conversations to maintain harmony? Or do you lead from purpose and principle, willing to accept temporary disapproval for the sake of meaningful results? True leadership respect comes not from pleasing others, but from serving a purpose worthy of their commitment. The fifth element of mastery is transforming relationships through principled living. The masterful individual recognizes that the quality of their relationships directly impacts their ability to create value. They approach each relationship with clear principles that establish the foundation for genuine respect. These principles include absolute integrity, mutual benefit, appropriate boundaries, and growth orientation. The masterful individual applies these standards to every relationship, from casual interactions to deep partnerships, creating consistency that builds trust over time. Most people adjust their standards based on who they're dealing with, behaving differently depending on another's status or potential value. The masterful individual maintains consistent principles regardless of circumstance, recognizing that respect stems from integrity in all situations, not selective performance. This principled approach doesn't mean treating everyone identically. It means applying the same underlying values to every relationship, while adapting your approach to each person's unique needs and circumstances. The specific application may vary, but the foundational principles remain constant. I observed a sales professional transform his results through this principled approach. Rather than adjusting his behavior based on a prospect's potential value, he treated everyone according to the same standards: transparent honesty, focus on genuine needs, and commitment to mutual benefit. This consistency created unusual trust, resulting in both immediate sales and extraordinary referrals. His reputation for principled dealing became his most valuable business asset. Consider your own relationship patterns. Do you adjust your standards based on who you're dealing with? Do you compromise principles for the sake of momentary advantage? Or do you maintain consistent values regardless of circumstance? The mastery of respect requires principled living in all relationships, not selective performance with those deemed important. The ultimate test of mastery comes when facing genuine adversity. Anyone can display respectability when circumstances align with their interests. The masterful individual maintains their standards even when doing so brings significant cost. This capacity develops through progressive challenges successfully navigated. Each time you maintain integrity despite pressure, each time you uphold standards despite inconvenience, each time you choose principle over popularity, you strengthen your ability to act with character in all circumstances. Most people compromise when integrity becomes costly, rationalizing departures from their standards when facing significant pressure. The masterful individual recognizes these moments as the true tests of character, the opportunities that either solidify or undermine the foundation of respect they've built. I watched a professional face this test when offered a lucrative opportunity that required compromising his standards. The financial benefit was substantial, the deviation seemingly minor. After careful consideration, he declined, explaining that the cost to his integrity exceeded any possible financial gain. Years later, when integrity became the primary selection criterion for an extraordinary opportunity, this decision became the cornerstone of his qualification. Consider how you've handled tests of character in your own life. Do you maintain standards when doing so brings significant cost? Do you choose integrity even when compromise seems justified? These moments of choice, especially when facing genuine adversity, reveal the true depth of your commitment to respectability. The final element of mastery is the capacity to teach these principles to others. The masterful individual doesn't just practice respectability. They develop the ability to articulate and transmit these principles to those around them. Their influence extends beyond personal example to active development of respectability in others. This teaching occurs not primarily through words, but through modeling, questioning, and creating opportunities for growth. The masterful individual helps others recognize self-defeating patterns, identify underlying principles, and develop alternative behaviors aligned with genuine respectability. Most people who achieve a degree of respect become protective of their position, viewing others as potential competition. The masterful individual reverses this perspective, recognizing that developing others multiplies rather than diminishes their own impact. They understand that the ultimate test of mastery isn't personal achievement, but the ability to create that capacity in others. I observed a leader who exemplified this principle through a simple practice. Whenever someone brought him a problem, he would ask, "What principle applies here? And what would you do based on that principle?" Rather than solving problems directly, he used each situation as an opportunity to develop principled thinking in others. Over time, his organization became known for exceptional integrity at all levels, creating a reputation that attracted both customers and talent. Consider your own approach to developing others. Do you hoard knowledge and opportunity? Do you solve problems that others should handle? Or do you actively build capacity in those around you, helping them develop the principles and practices that generate respect. The highest level of mastery involves not just embodying these principles, but creating a culture where they flourish beyond your direct influence. The journey toward mastering respect isn't completed in a day, a month, or even a year. It unfolds through thousands of choices made consistently over time. Each decision either strengthens or weakens your character. Each interaction either builds or diminishes your reputation. Each moment offers the opportunity to move toward mastery or away from it. What choice will you make today? Will you pursue momentary approval or lasting respect? Will you compromise for convenience or stand firm on principle? Will you blame circumstances or take responsibility? The answer to these questions, reflected not in your words but in your actions, will determine whether you merely understand respect or truly master it. The world doesn't need more people seeking approval. It needs men and women of character who stand for something beyond themselves. It needs individuals who value integrity above convenience, purpose above popularity, and principle above profit. It needs people who have mastered not just the mechanics of respect, but its essence. The consistent alignment of behavior with timeless values that serve something larger than self-interest. Your opportunity begins with your next choice. Not tomorrow when conditions improve. Not next week when you feel more motivated. Now, in this moment, what will you decide?